So it's not enough that Thanksgiving is over, but now here we are at Christmas.
Yeah, the holidays they're going so fast.
I could see the stanchizza in the
Coffee
face.
is flowing. Got my cozy sweater on. I'm going. I'm gone.
That's what makes these holidays really hard, man. It's trying to prep, trying to make sure everyone gets what they want, keeping it up. It's not easy.
It's not just all gifts. Like
No.
you want to make all the traditions. I look to do that. Like all the the fun stuff. Like you want that stuff. The holiday baking, the desserts or the foods. Like okay, we look for manigote for Christmas, right? I make my crepes ahead of time.
Right.
So it's a lot of prep work coming off of Thanksgiving into Christmas.
And then if you don't do that special dish or that thing that you normally, it doesn't feel like the holiday anymore.
It's true.
It's like you set your standard up and now you're stuck.
You got to keep it going throughout every year. It's true.
It's insane. It's insane. But there are a few dishes that are very culture heavy for us. And one of them would be the 7 fishes.
Yes.
So every Italian-American household, I know every 100% Italian household, they always do 7 fishes. Now, I wanted to look into it, and like I really, no one really explains it. It's like one of those culture things, like, oh, we just do this. Oh, thanks. Why?
Right.
So, thank you, Wikipedia. So basically, the 7 fishes represents either the 7 sacraments or the 7 deadly sins or something, because 7 in Christianity is very heavy. Very heavy. So, they always say that, how they say like 666 is the devil, or they're saying 777 is God and all this other stuff. So 7 is a huge number. There are also a few people who do 13 fishes, which is a fudge ton. But that's supposed to represent how many apostles there were.
Oh, okay.
But every region is deep. Every person from a different region does it differently.
But not for nothing, I think we do so much seafood typically that you kind of can reach 13 with your eyes closed.
Well, you can. Especially, like, I know that you guys love seafood. Well, besides Frank, because he'll die.
I love seafood.
Right.
Me, my parents, my kids aren't big on it. They'll have shrimp here and there, but like they're very like basic like that.
Right.
But I love it. Like I'll have
lobster,
lots of different
everything.
kinds.
So what? So off the top of your head, like what are your basics?
What are the necessities?
Your basics of what a Christmas 7 fishes
of seafood that you
seafood
need
that you have
on the table.
Yes.
Okay, I think the number one. Okay, there's 2 number ones that I think needs to be there. Mm-hmm. Can you guess what I'm guessing? And I'll let you guess either one.
Well, number 1, I think, has to be at least lobster tails.
No, I wasn't thinking that.
Really? They are in my house.
Well, I love lobster.
Yeah, okay.
I'm down for that. But that's not, I don't think, the number 1.
So, I know one of your number 1s is your seafood salad.
No. A dish. No, I know that's a dish, but no, not the salad. The salad is like a blend of stuff.
Yes.
I'm not talking about seafood salad.
So
what's the 2 necessities you need on the table that's seafood?
Calamari?
I wasn't going there.
Where are you going with this? What's 2?
Okay. I still think I'm right.
Go ahead.
Salted cod, bacala, or baked clams. I feel like those are the top number 2 spots of necessity.
So there will be people who might go against that and say that actually fried calamari, because that's a very big one.
You think that's the number 1 spot?
I think, put it like this. I think you're onto something with the baked clams, yes, but I also think calamari, because not a lot of people like bacala. I personally, if it's not made right, I won't eat it. It's a white fish. There's a lot of people who can't even eat white fish, and they can only have shell, and it's vice versa. Some people can't eat shellfish, they can only eat white fish. But bacala, I never see flying off of
I love
the shelves.
Maybe because it's an old school dish.
It is. It's very
old school Italians look for. You start your prep work, like, because you have to change the water for 3 days because it's salted.
Right.
But I love it. And I really, really, like when I see that on the table, like a happiness comes out from inside of me.
Actually, I think I'm sorry, but I actually think that your top 2 that you think are necessity are actually out.
No.
I'll tell you why. You just said plain and simple. Your kids. They eat shrimp. Shrimp is huge.
Yeah, it doesn't beat the baked clam or
I
the
think,
bacala.
I think the calamari and shrimp.
What?
Actually,
Fried shrimp?
Shrimp.
Scampi?
Shrimp cocktail. Listen, I'm telling you, it's
I
huge.
don't feel that takes the spot for 1 and 2.
That
may be like a number 5.
You know what? Let's ask people which grouping would be their number 1. Calamari and shrimp or bacala
and baked clams.
Let's take a look.
No comparison.
Well, whoever wants to go in the comments and say, we'll let the audience decide.
Okay, so help me prove him wrong.
So anywho, but
okay, so let's go back to
I
the
do want
things
to
we
talk
look
about.
for.
Yes.
So baked clams.
Yeah.
Bacala. Which let's go back to the bacala for a minute.
Sure.
I love it fried.
Yeah.
In seasoned flour, just like that.
Yeah.
But you could also do it with vinegar. And I remember a long time ago.
Do what with vinegar?
Like you cook, like when you're cooking it, you have it like with a little vinegar.
Never heard of that.
And I remember this because my family, well, no, I can't really say that. My grandmother would do it with the vinegar too, but we always make it just fried. And I remember back then, like on a Christmas Eve when I was pregnant, and I saw it, I was like, oh, I love that. Mm-hmm. And my mother-in-law was making it, but she was going to do it with the vinegar. Or maybe I said, oh, how are you doing? Or something. And then she was like, oh, with the vinegar. I was like, oh, can you leave a few without it for me? And then she made the whole thing without the vinegar because I was pregnant and I didn't want the vinegar. Yeah. But you could make it 2 ways.
I've never heard the way to make it.
Like Italians do a lot. Sutashito with vinegar, right? It's like another variation.
Well preserved. That's all.
Like we do. Like my mom makes an eggplant dish. Agredushe. It's like vinegar with like sweetened. Okay. Like, so it's like they do a lot of dishes with like a vinegar
base
flavor tone, like in the background.
I understand.
But anyway, going back to what I was saying, baked clams. Fried bacala.
Pause on the bacala for a second.
We're never getting past
No. So here's the deal. I get drying it out in the salt and then all this. Let me ask you this. Is there anything wrong with getting it fresh and then frying it instead of having it salted?
You could do that too.
Which to me, I kind of like that better because
the salted.
Yes, even though I like the bacala salted, I like that flavor. I do, listen, I have nothing wrong with it, but at that point, for me, just
you're like I think your take on it, it's too much work. The prep work is what you don't care for.
It's not worth
it.
The
flavor, like yes, it gives it more of a flavor.
Yes,
not a bad one, and you don't have saltiness that comes out because you're changing the water.
But then at that point, you might as well just get it fresh. Is my point.
Number one.
You see what I'm saying, though?
No, I don't. Because
why?
Because you're looking at the work aspect, which goes back to what we were saying, all the prep work for the holidays.
No.
That goes along with it because now this is another process you're doing for Christmas dinner.
Flavor-wise, if I were to give you a piece of the dried bacala, right, that you prepped and 3 days underwater, and you have that done, then I went out and got a fresh piece of cod, right? Did them both the same, fried them up. How could you tell the difference between the two? Because
the salted one has another elevated flavor because it's been under salt. So that kind of has a little flavor, like a difference of a flavor. And it's cured. It's a little different than the fresh. So
you're saying that they are two different
I'm not
flavors.
saying it's a drastic flavor like a profile that comes out.
But you can tell the difference.
But when it's salted, there's a little background flavor that it's a little different.
Okay.
Regular cod is delicious. I love it. It's a nice flaky white fish. I love it even on a regular day.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But
to which is why
it's so good too.
To which is why I'm saying I don't see. I personally don't see.
Why it's worth the work?
Not worth the work. It's not. There's
I think that's what you're looking at.
No. There's no difference in getting it fresh or having it soaked for 3 days to get the same product, a soft fish. There is no difference. That's what I'm saying. Like I personally don't think that there's a difference. Even flavor-wise.
The saltedness probably doesn't make it as flaky-ish to fall apart.
So you're saying it's tougher. You're saying in a way it makes it just lack of a better term.
Not in a bad way. It makes it delicious in another way, but it changes the texture of the fish.
even soaking it won't get it back to its
You're
original.
just removing all that salt.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So the texture from a salted one, you won't get the same
texture.
one as if you were to get
It's a slight different texture.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's more than just flavor, it's also a
Yeah.
texture. I've had both. I've had very hard times trying to figure out fresh or not. Maybe it was the way it was prepped, but like in my head, I'm going, well, why salt it for 3 days when I can go to the store, buy the fillet fresh, do the same exact
And
thing,
just make it.
and just make it. Like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like I don't want something that's repetitive.
It goes with the tradition.
I understand. So now we can get past the bacala stage. Let's go.
I don't know, can we? I feel like there's something
Well, it
to talk
depends. Let's
about.
do the next one. We'll see what we got a problem with that one.
Fried calamari is a must.
Yes.
However, I feel like you have to know how to fry it correctly.
Yeah, a lot of
With
people
the
screw that
breading,
up. Yeah.
a lot of times all the breading comes off,
Yep.
and then you're just looking at a soggy, oily mess.
So what would?
You
how do you
need
do
to
that?
fry it well.
All right.
Honestly, it's also how you blend the flour,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you're not using breadcrumbs.
No.
It's a flour base mix.
Right.
But, so those three, clams, cod, calamari.
So hold on. Pause
I'll
on.
give you the lobster.
Wait. Pause on calamari. So what? How do you make? Because a lot of people have this problem. How do you make the flour and the breading? I'm gonna call it breading for the calamari, so they just don't.
I feel a lot of it has to do with the oil temperature too. Like you have
Okay.
to fry it correctly,
Okay.
right? Because if the oil's not hot enough, it absorbs all the
Yeah.
oil. Like, and that goes with frying anything.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Once you're then it's like a sponge. It's absorbing it all, and then you end up with an oily do flavor in
Yeah.
the back of your throat for the rest of the night.
Right.
So I feel like a lot has to do with the oil temperature. You have to know how to cook like certain dishes,
Right.
to make it come out
I
right.
agree.
So what was that? Calamari was
right.
4.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 4?
Yeah.
Clams, no, that was 3. Shrimp,
Shrimp.
lobster,
Mm-hmm.
eel is big. We talked about that.
It's not,
eel
but
is
it's not as big as you think it is. Because going into like the fishmongers, I don't really see that flying. Again, I don't see that flying out.
It could be an old school dish,
I think it is an
but
old
it's
school
something
dish.
I grew up with on the table.
So if you tell them I have eel, how do you normally have it? Fried, right? Fried eel.
Yes, you
Okay.
could fry that up. Again, that's not something I look to make now. That's something I had growing up.
Right.
I'd rather those other things we mentioned.
Of course, nobody wants to
I'd
have a water
rather-
snake.
Also, octopus. We didn't talk about
Yes.
octopus.
Well, that's a part of.
That's another one. Like a lot of people love it grilled.
Oh,
Now
yeah,
the legs,
absolutely.
delicious. I love it boiled.
Yeah.
Like the
it's-
way we do it on New Year's.
I
Oh
know.
my God! Like,
But you
it's
have to
the
admit this.
best.
There's when you grill, let's just say just about anything. The char, the way it cooks is totally different, and the flavor. I feel like when you grill, you seal the outside to have the inside flavor stay. It doesn't just drip down, and it kind of retains the actual taste, the taste of the fish. When you boil, just like when you boil vegetables, when you boil anything, I feel that a lot of the flavor runs out of it because you're soaking it in water and
That's
it's
what
pulling it out.
A mogu is for.
But that's an assistance. But I'm saying that's what like if you were to tell me, hey, grilled octopus with a little lemon on it, or boiled octopus with lemon on it, I feel I'll get more flavor, more texture,
It's
more.
all your
with
preference.
Of course it is.
It's all your
But
preference.
my preference
How
is
do you
right.
want the steak? Do you want it grilled on the barbecue with the charcoal?
Yes.
Or do you want it just on the pan like that? It's your flavor. It's
I
how
know.
you want something cooked. That's what it is. What you're looking for
Right.
out of the dish. But those are two great ways
Yeah.
to prepare octopus.
Absolutely.
I think that might have been 7.
Yeah.
But then also you have the seafood salad.
Which is a mixture
That's
of
really
stuff.
good. So that's a whole mixture of stuff. So you could kind of throw in calamari, scungili, shrimp, baby octopus pieces too of the legs. We cut. I don't like the head
Of what?
of the octopus.
No one does.
I love but we eat it. We cut it up.
course.
So like I'll take one if I have to, but then I'll try to
Right.
get all the legs.
Well, a lot of people like your seafood salad.
Oh my God, I love seafood
So
salad.
like, Lugon, so how you
And
make
that's
it?
like something we'll make, not Thanksgiving, but all the holiday, that's really good for Christmas.
Right.
Of course, it's great for New Year's.
Yeah.
Even for Easter sometimes. It's really good for holiday, like a holiday dish to prepare.
And what is it? Mostly, what does the whole thing consist of?
Like, and another little thing is when you're like you have your variety of seafood,
Sure.
right? Your shrimp, calamari, the octopus, scungili. We're not cooking because
Right.
that's from the can.
Right.
So you have your array of seafood. You have to boil them individually.
Yeah.
Because they all cook at different points.
Mm-hmm.
So we do, and then in the water, you do lemon.
Mm-hmm.
Like you cut it in half a lemon or a whole lemon, depending how much you're doing. And you can even do like a splash of wine too, white wine.
Okay.
And that gives another flavor profile
Sure.
in boiling, picks up some flavor.
Sure.
And that's it. You set it aside, or all in a big bowl. And then you just start dressing it. Lemon juice, olive oil, fresh parsley, garlic. It's the simplest thing, but it comes together so delicious.
Mm-hmm.
You have that broth, and then you just keep stirring it so it covers and it stays flavorful. And
Any vegetables in it?
you could slice up celery, carrots. That's it. No onion.
That's what I was gonna say. Onion or no?
We've never really done onion.
No, right?
Celery, carrots is kind of pretty
Do you
much.
think red onion would be a good pop for that?
You could. It wouldn't be bad.
Because it's a sweet onion.
You could, and it would work too.
Okay.
We don't do that. That's not like in our
sliced
list
super
to do.
thin. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
like,
yes.
where
You
it's
don't
like
want
paper
that
thin.
bite. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but that would just help season that broth too, and
Okay.
flavor it up.
So
But, is there any other seafoods?
seafood.
I feel like there's so many, but
Well, there are. I mean, it's just like, there's people who like to have swordfish. There are people who like to have red snapper. I've seen red snapper a lot. My pops used to whiting.
branzino is so good too.
Yeah.
That's like a whitefish too.
Yes, it is.
But
again,
that's like a big specialty meal if you're making it.
And then people eat tilapia, even though you really shouldn't have tilapia. It's really not a good fish for you.
Let's go to this for a moment. Let's talk about tilapia, because that's like flounder, tilapia, whiting, sway.
Okay.
Those four are kind of all white fish. So you're saying tilapia is the worst of the bunch.
I think what goes hand in hand, branzino and tilapia, or if you were to give me that grouping, I would put those last. I think flounder and I think sway, you said?
Sway is another similar.
Yeah, but I think that's on a better platform than those other two.
Is it because I heard once that they're at the bottom and they eat all the crap or something like that?
Flounder is that kind of a fish where it would sit at the bottom, because remember, flounder is not a regular upright swimming fish. Its base, it's flat. It stays on its side.
Swimming on its side.
Right. And so the bottom of it is completely hard. What you're eating is the top portion. So it's how they prep it. They cut it open, and basically one half of the fish is all bone and cartilage. It's nothing. And it's a flaky type of fish. But if that's the case, we could make that same case for lobster. Lobster is a crustacean that roams the bottom of the seafloor. Same thing as crabs. Shrimp swim. But they do, again, a lot of their food consists of the same thing. Floating debris of, old dead fish.
They all eat the same type of food. They all eat the same.
Right. So if we're looking at bottom dwellers, that would be crab, lobster, flounder. The better foods. I mean, the reason why they say tilapia is not a good food is it's almost like how the meat is. It's a fatty kind of fish. It's not really something that we should really be eating. It's all over. I mean, did I look into it 100%? No, but there is a lot of articles out there that say
I agree with you, because I once I made the tilapia dish, and I was getting comments, tilapia is not good, you shouldn't be eating it.
Right. I've been hearing the same thing. Now, I mean, specifically, what do I know why? No. But they always say, go for your salmon, go for your swordfish, go for your whiting, go for...
Swordfish, I don't...
Swordfish?
Oh, I know what I don't like. Halibut.
Oh, halibut.
Halibut's dense.
Yes.
One time I ordered it out,
I
wasn't expecting it to be that way. I was like, seafood, I'll go for that. Halibut, and it was so dense, I didn't enjoy it at all.
So I would say, if you were to ask me, hey, if we're going to a seafood restaurant to have actual fish, what would you get? I would definitely go for, number one, I would go for swordfish. because it has a meat-like texture like tuna, but it's lighter.
See, I prefer the lighter fish.
Right, the flake fish.
The flaky
whiting.
fish. Yes, I think that's what I prefer better.
Correct.
Oh, another one that just popped into my mind. Skate.
I've had that once, I think.
Now, it's delicious.
But
I feel because the way we have it cut from the fishmonger is what makes it better.
Okay.
Because if you just buy it as is, I feel like it's more complicated to eat.
Okay.
Because now its bones are all cartilage.
Yes.
Okay? So you kind of have to eat in between the cartilage, get the meat in between it out to eat it. So what we always do is when we have it, it's like once in a blue, it's not like all the time, we would have her cut it for us in like 2-finger length, like across.
Okay.
Into thin strips
So
like
fillets.
that.
Those are the fillets.
Yeah, but she cuts them into pieces like this. She cuts them in strips.
Okay.
It's not the whole piece of fish.
Okay.
She cuts them for us. And then again, seasoned flour, and you just pan fry it. And it's so good because I think it's smaller and it's easier to eat because you only have like 1 or 2 pieces of cartilage in between, so it's easier to eat. You're getting more meat out of it. Like if you get the whole piece, it's like you kind of have to go in and out of all of them. But those individual ones, it's so good. I love that.
I gotta try to eat that a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a really good
Yeah.
seafood also to have.
Just the Christmas dinner itself, us being who we are, it's not just seafood.
No, typically it is.
Well,
Typically it is. It's
depending on how many people are there.
Night.
And how many people don't eat seafood.
Well, but that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Typically it is a seafood
Right.
holiday.
Right.
But then you have some that are allergic, that don't eat it, can't have it.
Right.
And then that's why now we always tend to go to more meat-based dishes as for all seafood.
Or pasta. Because that always...
Pasta's always there.
That's what I'm saying.
But that doesn't count.
No,
as
no,
a dish.
it has... No, of course it counts as a dish.
That does not count.
It's
That's
a
just
food
the
that's
first
on the
course.
table. What do you mean?
Yeah, but Christmas dinner is what the second course all consists of.
For us, being Sicilian, we always have pasta forno. That's usually the usual.
Let me backtrack that a second. For Christmas,
also included on the table, yes.
manicotti.
We're going to get there. But it's never... Because manicotti can be 1 year yes, 1 year no.
For you.
For a lot. And trust me, a lot of people don't make the manicotti the way that they used to. They don't. Now it's either lasagna or pasta forno. So manicotti is still old school tradition.
You know, it's so funny you said that, lasagna, because lasagna, and I really want to get this done. This has been in the back of my head to make a lasagna.
Okay.
Like to record, I mean. Like,
yeah.
That's not one of my repertoire dishes to make on a Sunday.
No.
I'd rather pasta forno. I can whip that up for you.
Because it's easier. Because pasta forno is easier. Because when you're having a lasagna...
I don't want to say it's easier.
There's less work to it. Because when you're layering, you have to parboil the noodles, right? And you have to make sure that they're separate.
It's the same thing.
When
You're just substituting lasagna sheets for annalete.
No, I don't layer the pasta forno, the annalete. I don't layer it.
I do. You just mix everything in a bowl and throw it in?
I
don't do that.
I put it down. Then I put the only layering.
I layer stuff.
The only layering that I do is the cheese and extra sauce in between. But there's a base of sauce with the annalete.
First, okay, now we're getting away from lasagna
That's
again.
fine. No, it's all the same. No, it's all the same.
For pasta forno, which yes, it would be the same thing. I would do a layer of sauce at the bottom of the baking pan.
Yes.
The lasagna, because you need it deep.
Yeah.
Your lasagna pan. So you have a layer of sauce. Now, my annalete pasta, it's drained.
Yeah.
I would quickly add a little sauce to that, right? Because now we're going to have that dressed in sauce.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
Wait a second. I have another bowl. Now, follow me along visually.
All right.
In another bowl, I have a little bit of meat sauce with gagliardo, chopped meat, peas, whatever.
Yeah.
Peas are optional. But in another bowl, I'm going to put some sauce. I'm going to put ricotta in there.
Yes.
And stir that up.
Yes.
So, now back to my lasagna dish. Have a little sauce on the bottom.
Yeah.
I'm going to put some of the pasta
Right.
that's been coated in the sauce.
Mm-hmm.
We have that pasta.
Mm-hmm.
Next, what am I doing? I'm wedging boiled egg. So it's in
Right.
4. I put some boiled egg.
Mm-hmm.
I put the ricotta in dollops. Okay. Then we do a little sauce. And then I do a little handful of mozzarella and then a handful of grated cheese.
Mm-hmm. That's for the lasagna.
No. Pasta.
still
This is
pasta
how I make
forno.
my
Okay,
pasta
okay,
forno,
okay,
but
gotcha.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's the same thing as lasagna. I don't do bechamel sauce. I don't like that. I
Yeah.
don't do that. But I would do the ricotta mixture
Yeah.
as my contrast
Yes.
of, to say that you would have the white bechamel, here it's the ricotta sauce
Right.
filling. And then, it's a high dish. I would do another layer.
Yeah.
But just on the top layer, I would omit the egg because now you're at the top.
Correct.
Then I would do pasta, and then I would do sauce, the mozzarella, grated cheese, and that ricotta filling. So I do make it in layers.
All right, I could see why. A lot of so for me, so number one, yes, should we put egg in because that's the way we've always had it? Yes, I don't bother with the egg. I've sometimes when I do have the egg, like I have to be in the mood to have the egg in it.
We love boiled egg
that's
in
fine.
our pasta forno.
That's fine.
And we actually count how many we get in our dish as for what you got in
you
your.
serious?
I swear to God, we all love it.
Oh, wow.
Like me and my parents.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, I didn't get no egg. Oh, but
wow.
hey, he got 2. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be equal, and I try to put enough for everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I like the egg aspect, but I also like it's one of those things that I can do without because I'm there to eat the baked
I just want
pasta.
to throw another tip. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you could make pasta forno, prep it this way and freeze it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
A great dinner for another time.
Oh yeah.
But if you're going to freeze it, don't put the egg because
No.
egg doesn't freeze well.
No, it doesn't.
So I would do all those layers except the egg, and then I do cellophane and foil. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I do it and freeze it. It stays so nicely,
Yeah.
and it's easy on a day where you don't have time to cook.
Right.
Boom, pasta forno's done.
Yeah, just throw it back in the oven or
Yeah, like let it sit out, defrost,
yeah.
and then you could cook it in the oven then to like fully cook through.
Yeah. So yeah,
Brown on top.
so for me, like when I do the pasta forno, I mix a lot of it together. I just make sure that I do what? When I say layer, I'm doing layering of, like you said, of the mozzarella and the grated cheese. Basically just 2 layers, the bottom, like the...
Yeah, no, I have more
Yeah.
layers.
No,
in
I know
there.
you do.
Like even that mixture of ricotta with the sauce, it's so good.
Yeah, and again, I'm not a huge
I know
ricotta
you're not a
fan,
ricotta person.
but I will put it in as the mixture
yeah.
for it, like where I could taste it, but I'm not getting a mouthful of it. That I don't mind. I mind when I cut into it and I go, all of it was ricotta. Like, that's just
I
my
guess it
personal.
depends if you like the ricotta
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah,
or
yeah.
not. We love it.
I still think you should have it in there whether you like it or not because it does
It
add
blends in.
It blends in. Then with the mozzarella and then the grated cheese, it's fine. It's okay. I've made it where everything was mixed together, just the layering of the mozzarella cheese and whatever, and I love the way it came out because it's simple and you're not wrapping your brain about like, oh, did I miss this? Did I miss that? It's all there.
Yeah.
It's all there. But
yeah, so I feel like you could do lasagna, pasta forno,
Yeah.
or manicotti. But manicotti we do every year
yeah.
for Christmas.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that's something Frankie looks forward to, like for Christmas.
Right. And a lot of people, there was a little bit of people who don't know what manicotti are. So
Yes,
If
that's
you wanna
true.
go into
it is
that.
an Italian-American dish.
Okay.
It's not like an Italian dish. They have more cannellone, which it looks to the eye similar because it's like a tube pasta with the filling. But cannellone is a physical pasta tube filled with ricotta, and manicotti is a crepe.
Right.
So it's not like a tube. It's a crepe, and then you roll it
Right.
with your filling. And then you just layer it and then fill it, and put sauce on it and cheese and then bake it the same way.
So, quick fact, just to go back to lasagna, that's not really an originated Italian dish, right?
I'm not surprised, to be honest with you, right?
It's Greek.
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 Well,
Greek
they
originally.
have, and I'm not even going to attempt to say it, but they have like other dishes that are layered like that.
Yes. Yes,
What
they
is-
do.
Do you know what it is? I'm not even going to I'm
I
going to
know the word. I know the word, but there is another layered dish that
What
they
about
have.
spanakopita? Like that's coming to my brain, and I'm saying it wrong, I'm sure.
No,
but I feel like that.
We that dish has been around even like before Roman times. It's been around that much, and it's made its way in circulation. And before remember, tomatoes weren't introduced to Europe until 1700s.
Even for sauce and pasta?
There was none. Well, pasta they had, sauce they had not. So what were they using? They were just using heavy bechamel. Because that was easy. That's kind of easy to make. Everyone knew how to make that.
Flour-based mix.
Right. All kinds of meats in there, this is that, but no sauce. Only up into the 1700s. Basically, after the Renaissance, that's when tomatoes started circulating. So that was some pretty dry lasagna back in the day. Just got to say. And I had no idea that was even a thing.
Yeah.
So, and the word lasagna itself, there's a different word for it, but it actually means like long noodle. So even the word's not even ours. You know what I'm saying? But it's crazy that we
associated with an
so
Italian
much with that
dish.
And it tells you how much time things get lost in, not translation, but the history behind it. You know, it's just nuts.
But the best part of that dish is that with the layers,
yes,
you can make it in different ways.
You could do so many different damn things with it.
Instead of sauce.
Yes, of course.
Do like they got the spinach.
Oh, yeah.
Is really good, too. You know, you could load up on the meat and do meatballs, chopped meat.
Right.
You know, like make the sauce more hearty.
Of course.
Forget the pasta. Do a vegetable lasagna.
Right.
Boom, now it's healthy. Supposedly, right?
Well, if you could do like a layered eggplant parm.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, make it a vegetable instead of the pasta. Now the cheese is your worst part.
But no one's going to get rid of the cheese.
Right, like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
remember, the saying is cheese is a fat man's candy. It's true.
Is that a saying?
Yes, it is.
I never heard that saying before.
Cheese is a fat man's candy.
I can't live without cheese.
But, so, you have your fishes. You have your pastas. The manicotti, which, by the way, I always have to request without ricotta in them. I want meat and cheese.
Okay, so now let's talk about that, the fillings, because we make two kinds of fillings. A ricotta filling or a chopped meat filling.
Right. Wait a minute, so you don't mix the ricotta and the chopped meat into, like, as your general one?
No.
Okay. So you do straight ricotta. I do not.
So the ricotta mixture, it's ricotta, egg, cheese, fresh parsley.
You put, again, hard-boiled egg in it.
No. It's a beaten egg.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So you have ricotta, whole milk ricotta in a bowl.
Okay.
You do an egg. You do fresh parsley.
And pecorino.
And, yes, you throw in the cheese if you want a little mozzarella or grated cheese. Well, no, grated cheese definitely. And then, like, maybe a little handful of mozzarella shredded. And that's the ricotta filling. For the chopped meat, it's pretty much, it's just sauce. It's like a little onion with the chopped meat. That's how you cook it. And then you put the sauce in and you let it cook down. But you make that a little thicker. It's not so loose. It's not so thin. You're not adding the water. Do it with tomato paste. And then you just add enough water just to thin it down enough where it still stays kind of thick to hold in and not just be this whole loose mess.
Right.
And those are the two varieties that we make of manicotti, because now you have the ones that don't like ricotta, you have the ones that only want the meat, or vice versa.
Yes.
Like me, I always take ricotta. I don't look for the meat filling one.
Oh, really?
I like the ricotta filling better.
So, just because I'm pretty sure people are going to want to know, the crepe itself, what does it just consist of? Just water and flour?
It's so basic. Well, here's the other thing. You could either, like, yes, it's flour, and then you add your liquid.
Right, but what liquid are you using?
Now, you could either do it with water, or you can make it with milk.
2%,
I make it with
half
milk.
and half. What's your substitution on that?
Whole milk.
Okay, good.
None use whole milk, so I use whole milk.
So you do it with milk?
Yes.
Okay.
And actually, the way I have it recorded and on my page, I have it made with milk. I like doing it ahead of time. So, like, right now, well, when this airs, it's like the week before Christmas. So, like, now I would be making my manicotti crepes. You could freeze them. Okay. So, like, you
don't think that it loses its
No, because I'm only doing it a week before.
Mm-hmm.
So you make it in the pan and it's really fast
Mm-hmm.
because it's so thin.
Mm-hmm.
Cook it and then you flip it fast.
Mm-hmm.
Now what we do is we like have a dish, but it's like a waste. You're going through a lot of paper towels, but we layer it in between paper towels. So each one stays nicely on its own. It absorbs any moisture and they won't stick to each other.
Gotcha.
And then once it's all cooled and whatever, I put it in a Ziploc bag and I freeze it for like a week, right? Because I kind of do it like maybe the week before. So that's done. Take it out and it'll be nice for you to make
Yeah.
your manigote.
Yeah.
And you can put it together like early in the morning and then you just throw it in the oven closer to dinner whenever you need it for. Or you can make it all that day. I mean, if you have the time and you're making all these things and you're going to make it that time, you could just make the crepes
Or maybe
really
the
fast.
day, or maybe just do them the day before and leave
Or
them in the
day
fridge.
before,
and you have to
yes,
freeze
yes,
them.
and they stay nice in the paper towels in the refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's I think that's the thing. Like with holidays, we look for so many foods and dishes, but you gotta kind of space it out. You're gonna go crazy if you make this all the
And
day
if you're
of.
by yourself, if you're only cooking
You know?
by yourself, if you have a team, who gives a shit? Do what you got to do. But if it's just you,
Yeah, but you know what? Honestly, I feel like I don't see that team no more.
no, you don't.
Like it was back in the day. Like
Mhm.
back in the day, like whoever's house the holiday was at, you had that team that would go and help
Right.
and prepare. Like I feel like that team has been lost. So I mean, if you are
Thinned
on your
out.
own
Thinned out. Can
doing
we say
it,
thinned out?
then you got to space it out. Like within those few days, the
Yeah.
night before, you could do it.
We took care of those, but now let's just go into like more of like a dessert, because the holidays are desserts. They are cookies, they are cakes, they are. So what do you normally do per year?
My goodness, like I've been making so many cookies already.
Mm-hmm.
One cookie well, actually there's a few cookies. Everyone looks for pinoli cookies.
Mm.
Another easy
Yeah.
cookie to make. Literally, it's 3 ingredients. Almond paste, egg whites, and sugar.
Yeah.
That's it. I throw it all in the food processor, so it breaks down that almond paste, and then you roll it out. Easy cookie, but everybody looks for it. That's a big cookie. Rainbow cookies,
Oh God, I love
3
rainbow
color cookies. Everybody, but again, another thing, you get your batter going, you separate
The
the
ganache.
red. I don't make ganache. I
Okay.
melt chocolate
Okay.
because ganache is more with cream.
Okay.
I just melt the semi-sweet chocolate. Actually, I just made it last night, and I'm making another batch when we're done here. I put a little bit of coconut oil. You get it in a jar
Mm-hmm.
in your baking aisle,
Mm-hmm.
and you put like a little spoonful. Don't ask me for measurements. It's a spoonful. I don't know. But if I have a big thing of chocolate, I put a bigger spoon. If I have a little bit, I do a little less. That helps it stay glossy
Oh, nice.
and makes it look pretty because,
Cool.
everything's got to be pretty. And then you just pour it over it in a thin layer, refrigerate it, and then you cut it up.
Nice.
But what I made yesterday was my rainbow cookies, but I did Nutella instead of jelly. So instead of raspberry and apricot with the layers, it's Nutella on both layers.
Nice. I'll try that.
So I made those. Today I'm making the traditional ones with the jelly, so we kind of have both.
Cool.
We make lots of cookies every year. Lemon cookies.
I
We made
eat
a
lemon
huge
cookies
batch
like
of that.
crazy. Like I have to have that every time when I'm here.
These chocolate crinkle cookies
Mhm.
taste like a brownie. It's
Mhm.
so good. Everybody loves those too. And yeah, you make a nice platter of all these cookies. And that's another thing we do ahead of time.
Right.
So kind of once December comes in, we start planning. All right, when are we making the cookies? What day is good? And then we
And then
start.
you have the other ones too, the famous ones, the cucciadate.
Yes. See, I
Because
didn't even get that
that's
far
every
yet either.
year. That's every year that has to be made.
Cucciadate with the fig
Fig.
filling.
Fig
There's
and
another
chocolate.
filling with the gugutza. That's gugutzada.
I don't like that one.
There's so many delicious cookies
Yeah.
that you've got to try to make at least a plate, a tray, and then you kind of mix it in, and then everybody has what they like.
Mm-hmm.
So getting away from cookies, because we talked a lot about that last year.
Yeah, we did.
I have lots of videos on my page on how to make them. What other dessert do you look for that's other than cookies?
The one that keeps on giving, panettone. And no, I don't mean pandoro, even though pandoro's good. It is. Pandoro's the one with the cream. Panettone is the one with the dried fruit.
With the fruit, right? That's
I
the
like
difference.
that. I like that one.
You like the dried fruit one.
I don't mind it at all. I really don't mind it at all.
As far as fruit, I'll just go for the raisins. The dried fruit, I'll eat it forzivo, like if I'm forced to eat it and I have to.
No one has to force you to eat anything.
But
Come on.
I don't care for the dried fruit.
Listen,
I'll do raisins or the plain or with the cream. I like those better.
well, do you know the urban legend behind panettone?
I've heard a few things, but let me hear what you've heard.
Well, back in 1495, there was a duke who had a party going on, and the cook burnt the cakes. So, along came a person named Tony. Tony,
Leave it to the Italians to come along.
Tony with an I. Not Anthony. It's Tony. And he created this bread, this brioche bread with fruits in it. And the way it was formed, because it was bread, it now became pan di Tony.
That is so funny.
Panettone. But that's just an urban
So Tony
legend.
came along and claimed this burnt bread and turned it into a brioche.
No, he made a whole new set of bread because all that burnt stuff got thrown out. He made a whole new batch quickly, as quick as possible, because remember with this, there's actually a lot of fermentation days. There's a lot of days where it...
Panettone is really a process
Yes,
to make.
it
And
is.
the butter, it's so much butter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it is a very big process. Like, and I've seen some videos. Oh, you can make your own panettone. Actually, someone sent me a video. Oh, you can make your own panettone. No, not interested. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's some things you could just buy.
Yeah.
Literally. And it's worth the headache. Like, I'm not stressing to make this perfect panettone with all the butter and all the process.
Right.
When I could get it for like $10.
Exactly. And then you don't eat it, then you give it on to the next person. That's the gift that keeps on giving. But one more thing about panettone that I didn't know. Out of the mass production of panettone, you would think maybe America would consume a lot of it. Maybe Italy will consume a lot of it. They don't.
I would think that Italy is the biggest consumer of panettone.
Peru.
Now, does that consist of both
That consists of
panettone and
just
pandoro?
panettone. Just panettone.
Okay. That's because we're
they
eating the plain one.
They calculate it at two.
Yeah, they could take the
Hold on,
dried fruit.
hold
I don't
on.
want that.
Two and change panettone per person. That's how you kind of look at how they buy it. 2 and change of panettone per person
In the whole country. That
for
is funny.
panettone.
That is crazy.
Where the hell that come from? I have no idea.
But even here in America, like, we use the plain panettone.
Yes.
Pandoro. Like, even, like, and I've even done it myself in tiramisu.
Yeah.
You can make French toast.
Yes.
Like, you're using it in so many different aspects. So I'm
Correct.
surprised the
Because
United
it's very
States isn't up
because
there
it's a
too.
brioche. It's very
It's a
universal.
brioche. It's so good.
With saying that, our manager said our time to wrap up. He gave us the signal.
Our time has ended up in the studios.
That's
But
it.
Have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Definitely. And then we'll see you
In the
New
New Year.
Year's.